Episode 40. This episode brought to you by reelsandtackle.com, your family-owned online tackle store.
Welcome to the Telltale Fisherman Podcast, where avid anglers share the story of their best fishing day ever to inspire yours. Now it's time for another epic adventure. So here's your host, John Woodson.
All right, welcome to the show. Today's guest is Dustin Murray, coming to us from St. Augustine, Florida. Dustin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, John. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing great. All except for this frigid, freezing cold weather we got here in Florida, and I know you're experiencing it too, just a little up the road from us there. St. Augustine's about 2 hours north of Orlando, where I'm coming to you from?
Yeah, probably right at 2 hours north,
yeah.
and it is it's very cold. This is very unusual for us. So
yeah, I know our friends of the show over in Denmark and Sweden and up in Canada aren't going to have much sympathy for us Floridians down here, but we're a little chilly right now. This is not normal for us, so
not at all. I mean, we're used to this time of year. We're used to that 60, 70 mark. We're not used to this 30s and 40s, and even a little bit below that coming these next couple of days. So
that's it. Well, we're gonna tough it out and hopefully get back on the water here soon. But it's a good chance for us to talk a little bit about fishing. But before we jump off into that, let's just have you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay. Well, like you said, I am Dustin Murray from St. Augustine, Florida. I'm actually in the Florida Army National Guard. That is my full-time job. So I'm a recruiter for them.
Okay.
Yep. I love the job. That's one of my passions outside of fishing.
Right. Now, do you get to travel all around the state with that, or are you kind of based up there in the St. Augustine area primarily?
So I'm primarily in St. Augustine. I do get a chance to travel the state some, but for the most part, I'm around the St. Augustine area.
Okay. Awesome. I'd like to have you just tell the folks about St. Augustine a little bit, and not just the fishery, but also kind of the town, because it's a pretty unique place, isn't it?
Yeah, St. Augustine is a very beautiful place. I absolutely love it here. I grew up in Stark, Florida. Too many people don't know where that's at. It's actually probably about 45 minutes just west of St. Augustine. So I grew up actually coming to St. Augustine all the time. This is where we came for the beach and everything else growing up. So, but it's, it has, we're known as the oldest city in the nation. So, we got that. There's a lot of Spanish heritage around here. So if you ever do get a chance to come to St. Augustine, highly recommend, if you can find the parking, they do have a parking garage, but going down to St. George Street, fantastic shops, a lot of restaurants, a very good place to eat, a lot of old Spanish style buildings and everything else. It's a great place, especially this time of year. December, they usually start it at the very beginning of December, and they do the Night of Lights. So the entire downtown over the bayfront, so the Matanza River, they have all that lighted up. They do trolley rides all through it. It's phenomenal. You won't find a better place to visit, especially around the December, January time frame. And that actually goes all the way through the end of January. Right.
And another big draw you got up there, which is year-round, is the fort. Can you tell people about that a little bit?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So the fort, there's a ton of people who come out to that fort. They actually do guided tours there, which is phenomenal. We actually just did it, man, I guess it was in 2016 in December. They actually had a guy who dressed up in the old Spanish uniform, and they actually went around the entire fort showing us different things, told us all about the history of the fort. It's a phenomenal place to visit, and that's the Fort Castillo San de Marco. That's a huge attraction for St. Augustine. We also have, Ripley's.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, store. We have the Wax Museum. So the Potter's Wax Museum, that's a huge attraction for people when they come over here. So, and then we also, like I said before, we have a ton of restaurants. I mean, some of them are world famous, like Augustine, or the Black Fly restaurant. Ton of different places.
Yeah, St. Augustine's always a popular place for, folks from Orlando and just all over to Florida to travel to and hang out. It is a neat town for sure.
Yeah, we absolutely love it here.
Let's talk about the main attraction there, and that's the fishery. And I know you get to experience it regular and have, I guess, since you were young going over there. Just kind of tell us about the area and, what it's like fishing there for those who haven't been there, kind of give them a sense for what kind of fishing you can do there.
So in St. Augustine, you can do a ton of different fishing. Obviously, I'm huge on inshore fishing, so the biggest things that we have here is redfish, trout, flounder, and then we also have snook. So a lot of people don't realize that we have snook far up north. Yep. So around the St. Augustine area, actually just north of St. Augustine, Palm Valley is the first place that I've ever caught where I caught my first snook. So, but if you are in South St. Augustine, probably right between St. Augustine and Marine Land, there's a couple of creeks down there. Pelican Creek is one of them where if you know certain spots, you can catch slot size snook, in the 30-inch range. So
wow.
Yeah. So you have that inshore fishery down here, reds, trout, especially trout right now. The trout bite is phenomenal right now. So
excellent.
Virtually everywhere you can find them. So, but then we also have your nearshore fishing, tarpon come running right off the beach here in St. Augustine. So you don't even have to have a big boat. During the times when the tarpon are running, we've had my 16-foot skiff out there.
Nice.
I know people who go out there in John boats out there catching tarpon. 100, 200 yards off the beach. So it's there's a lot there, and then you have the cobia that run fairly close by, and then you also have your offshore fishing. Your offshore fishing out here, you're going to go much further out to catch a lot of your pelagics, but we do have that here as well.
Yeah, so you're probably like 50 so miles to get out to the Gulf Stream up there?
Yeah, I think it's right around that 60-mile mark.
Yeah, where we go out of Canaveral, a little farther south from where you are, it's about 30 miles for us to get there.
Yeah.
So a little closer in, but still a little bit of a drive to get out there. But it's there, if you're willing to take the ride.
Yeah. If you're willing to take the ride, you can definitely get out there and get on them good. But I mean, the near shore here is phenomenal too. So if there's a lot of public wrecks and reefs around St. Augustine. St. Augustine High School actually has their own reef out here too.
Really?
Where they manage that. So I mean, that's a good area to go. We've caught plenty of fish off of that. So a lot of public numbers that you can go and have a great day of fishing. So
it's nice to have options, isn't it, to be able to scoot offshore and catch all the fish that are moving through, or fish inshore for all the all of those species like redfish and snook and trout, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's phenomenal. You can't beat it.
And you said you have a skiff or a flats boat, so that's how you fish most of the time?
So there's two ways that I fish. I have a Carolina skiff, a 16-foot Carolina skiff, and then I also have a Hobie Outback kayak. So depending on if I have a buddy with me or my wife with me, we'll take the skiff out. If I'm going solo or if I'm going with a couple of buddies that have kayaks, then we'll go out in the kayak. So I'd probably say, especially this time of year, it's more in the kayak because not too many people want to get out in the cold.
You're right. Especially not this week.
Exactly.
Well, cool. When we get back, Dustin is going to share one of those epic inshore St. Augustine fishing days with us. So stay tuned.
As avid anglers, our mission is always fishing, But at the Telltale Fisherman, our mission is to find the most epic fishing stories from around the world. And to do that, we need your help. When you share us on social media, that's like casting a line in a new pond, lake, or ocean where the next trophy fishing story awaits. Go to tell.fish, click one of our social media icons, and help cast the net for our next inductee to the Telltale Hall of Fame.
All right, we are back with Dustin Murray and been talking a little bit about St. Augustine, Florida, where he lives, and what a cool and unique place that is. And then also, of course, the fishery, which is world class and beautiful. So I understand the story you're going to tell us today is from an inshore trip there in St. Augustine, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, well, yeah, just kind of set it up for us and tell us what happened.
Okay, so this was a couple of months ago, back in, I guess September. It was right before Hurricane Irma came through. Me and my buddy, both of us are in the Florida Army National Guard. We knew that we were more than likely going to get called out to help out with the hurricane. So it was pretty sure it was Friday before the hurricane hit. Hurricane hit up this way around Sunday night, Monday morning time frame. So we went out Friday afternoon because we knew that we were probably going to be leaving Saturday morning. We get to the main boat ramp in St. Augustine, which is the Volano boat ramp. As soon as we pulled up, there was nobody there. Not a single boat, not a single truck, nobody. So we were like, well, let's go see if there's anybody at the other boat ramp at Aunt Kate's, which is a little bit closer. Yeah. So we pull up to that one. Once again, nobody's there. The restaurant shut down. I mean, even the roads were pretty much, nobody was on the roads.
That's when you know you're either really lucky or really crazy, right?
Yeah. And me and my buddy, when we pulled up to Aunt Kate's boat ramp, me and my buddy looked at each other and we both said we must be crazy to go out in this. But we knew we hadn't had a chance to fish together in a while. We knew that this was probably going to be the last chance we had in a little while. So we took a shot for it, and we knew we'd only have a couple hours. So we put the boat in. It was flat, calm, right there around the dock.
Was it already kind of overcast and everything? I mean, from the storm where you...
Oh, yeah. It was definitely overcast. It didn't, when we left the house, it wasn't that windy. Even when we put up to the boat ramp, it wasn't that windy. The water right there was very calm. It's right there around some docks. The spot that we were going to go to is a spot that we always catch fish in. I mean, we've never been to that spot and have not caught something. So we knew that it should be fairly good. The trout kind of hold up around the oyster bars in this little cove. We know that there's a spot where the redfish are. So we took off. As soon as we get past the docks out into a clearing, that's when the wind started howling, and that's when we realized it picked up to where it was probably blowing easily 25, 30 miles an hour. So we get to the opening of this little cove, and there's fish blowing up everywhere. I mean, it's going mayhem. So we tried to get my skiff in position for my buddy to cast his topwater plug.
By poling?
No. I don't have a poling on my skiff, so it was just by the outboard. I'm trying to maneuver with the outboard at this point, and he when he casts his topwater plug, I mean, he doesn't have any control over it. It is sailing over, and the wind is just pushing us. I'm having a hard time maneuvering the boat, so we decide to go back into the cove, turn back around, and kind of point our nose into the wind. We drop the trolling motor and put that on full blast. I have the iPilot trolling motor, so we put it on the anchor mode.
Yep.
And just try to, hopefully that'll work. So we start throwing our topwater plugs, and we are catching jack after jack after jack. I mean, it's every single cast we're hooking up, drag screaming. It's just going mayhem.
You're talking about jack crevalle.
Yes. Yep, jack crevalle.
For those who haven't caught those before, just describe what that fish is like.
So a jack crevalle, a lot of people will call it a ghetto permit or, or, something else. It looks, fairly like a lot like a permit. They fight extremely hard. Even the smaller size jacks fight extremely hard. They'll pull drag. One of the smaller size jacks could feel like a 25-inch redfish pulling. They just fight extremely hard. So, they're not very good table fare, but they're extremely good fish to catch. And we actually did. We have tried. Me and this same buddy, Ryan, we both have tried jack crevalles, and we tried them several different ways. So
not happening, huh?
They're not. I mean, we can eat it, but it's not the greatest tasting fish out there. So yeah, but so we I mean, like I said, it was going mayhem, and then next thing we know, there's a downpour. I mean, straight downpour. It came out of nowhere, and we had to push back further into this little cove and to a spot to where we could try to get out of the wind some. And straight downpour. We were still throwing topwater plugs, and we switched over to soft plastics. And once again, I mean, every other cast, we're hooking up the jacks. Both of us double hooked up almost the entire time we're out there. We're trying to maneuver the boat. We're trying to reel in these jacks. By the time that the rain cleared out and everything else, me and him are looking at each other. The boat is full. I mean, it's covered in blood from just, unhooking them jacks, throwing them back in. We just looked at each other and we're like, what in the heck just happened? It was just a very fun time with one of my great buddies. And even though we weren't catching, I guess your trophy fish, reds or trout or any of that, we still had a blast. And to me, that's a lot of what fishing is about. It's just being out there on the water with family, friends, just having a good time, having a blast. So when we looked at each other and we're like, man, it was just a phenomenal time. We ended up deciding that we would head back in, go ahead and clean up the boat. As we're coming back in fairly fast, and we get right back there towards the docks. And out of the corner of my eye, I see these fish blowing up right there just off the bank. And my buddy sees it at the same time, so we're both kind of hollering at each other. We slow the boat down. We drop the trolling motor. We start throwing topwater plugs in there, and it's mayhem all over again. I mean,
and now you're around docks and stuff, right?
Oh yeah. We're around docks. I mean, it's one jack after the next. It's just insane fishing that probably lasted another 25, 30 minutes. Before we know it, it's pitch black. We're the only ones out there. So we called it a night. We loaded the boat up, and the whole time riding back to the house, which it's only a 10, 15-minute ride to the house, but the whole time we were just like, man, can't believe, first we're sitting there thinking that we're idiots, going out right before the hurricane. And then it just turned into, an epic battle with jack crevalles and a great time with one of my best buddies. So, to me, that's what it's all about. It's just having a great time with friends and family. And, it doesn't get much better than that. That's what we enjoy.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, for those who haven't caught a jack, they really are, just like you described, are just pound for pound one of the hardest fighting fish there are. And especially I asked if you were in there around the docks, because I've got into some jacks like that along the seawalls in between docks, and man, they will run and wrap around the pylons and cut you off. I mean, it's like hand-to-hand combat in there trying to catch those things. Yes. It is a lot of fun.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you definitely gotta, when you're around them docks, you definitely have to tighten the drag down. So.
Yeah, we actually had to tackle up and put on some bigger, get some bigger sticks and do everything we could.
Yeah.
If you get the big ones, the really big jacks.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Oh yeah.
So when you were out there in that little cove fishing and that downpour happened, were you guys did you have your weather gear, or were you just out there just getting soaked?
No. just getting soaked. We did not come prepared for that at all. I mean, when we left the house, I mean, it was overcast, but we didn't think it was going to rain or anything. We get out there, and I mean, it was a downpour. And of course, I mean, we try to bring cameras with us and stuff like that, GoPros. And, I mean, as soon as I pulled up to the ramp, before I got on the water, I called my wife and told her, I was like, hey, we're launching right now. I was like, there's nobody at the boat ramp. And she was like, yeah, but that's because y'all are dummies. And she's like, did you bring the GoPro? I was like, oh man, I forgot mine. I asked my buddy Ronnie. He was like, no, I left it sitting right there at the door. So, we didn't get any of it on film except for a couple of videos that I took with my cell phone as we were heading out to the spot. But it was just an epic day. I mean, there's no other word to describe it.
Right. And do you think it was the storm that had them all those fish pushed up into that cove like that? I mean, were they going off because it was prefrontal? Do you have any sense for that?
I think so. I mean, I do. That's what we were hoping for, was because of the storm coming through, that it was going to have them into a feeding frenzy. And I believe that's what caused it. And it just so happened that it was the jacks that were in there that day. There could have been reds and trout that were in there with them, but the jacks were just so aggressive that, I mean, as soon as our plugs hit the water, a lot of times we didn't have to work the top water plug. I mean, as soon as you started to try to walk the dog, I mean, you got 2 twitches in and you're hooked up.
Kapow.
So, oh yeah.
Wow. It is great stuff when you can get on those jacks like that. I agree with you. There's not much fishing that's more fun than that. When they're going off like that, it is a sight to behold.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's always a great time when that happens. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, I mean, it's magical.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, Dustin, next time we get a hurricane blowing through, give me a call. We're going fishing, okay?
Will do.
We got to get out there before the hurricane. We'll be the only crazy people at the boat ramp, but we'll get it done.
For sure.
All right, man. Well, I'm glad to hear I'm not the only other crazy one who would contemplate doing something like that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of us that contemplate it. So It's only if we're lucky to get away with it. That's what it is. That's right.
You were the one who was just that little bit more crazy than everybody else that day and got rewarded for it. So good for you, man. All right, man. Well, that was awesome. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing that story with us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
There are so many amazing places to fish. It's doubtful any of us fishing junkies will ever be able to hit them all, but we can certainly do the next best thing. Experience them through the eyes of fellow avid anglers who share their most epic adventures with us. Sign up to be our guest on the show today at www.tell.fish/guest.
This has been the Telltale Fisherman Podcast. Thanks for sharing another great tale with us. Be sure to check out the show notes page for more info on today's show and the gear we talked about. Keep those lines tight, and we'll catch you next time right here on the Telltale Fisherman Podcast.